set up here real quick. And this is a pre-show anyways, like the first 10 minutes before. We just get people to, can you hear us? Can you see us?
Of course.
Tag your friend. All right, live. Facebook's live. We are live. Awesome. Let me drive you the link, good sir. And then we can start sharing that out as well. But yeah, like, dude, in the meantime, like, that's the interesting thing. Like, that was what I thought as well was definitely the case. And then I realized, and that was the last 3 months was the inflection point. I was like, yo, wait a second. It doesn't have to be like that if I understand the rules of the game. So once I understand the rules of the game, I knew how to manipulate that game, and that's when shit got hella fun. Just like hella fun. All right, link is in here. Just copy. If you click on that, it'll drive you to the original video. You can share that.
I was busy going to look for it, so hang on.
You're good. I got you, bro. I even got copy for you as well. So if you want copy, you can tweak however you want. Copy is right there.
You're on fire right now.
Yeah, man.
You come prepared. You make my podcast look weak.
Nah, man. You're good. It's only because, and this is a shout out to my buddies at Affiliate World. They really that's what they did really, really well. Like every time I went to go speak there, they just, everything's laid out. Like, this is what you need, this is what you got. You go here, this time is there. Make sure you have the pamphlet. This is your tag for this. And I'm like, that is impressive. So I got to make sure I do the damn same thing.
Yeah, I just go live.
Nice.
Yeah, you're way cooler and slicker than I am.
Dude, that live yesterday was fire though, man.
Which one, with Roland?
Yeah.
Yeah, Roland. There we go. Roland is probably one of the smartest business people I've ever met in my entire life. I joked with him, like when I first had him on the podcast, we were talking. I'm like, yeah, if my son ever wants to go to business school, I'm just gonna like ask you if he could come live with you, and I'd pay you the same amount. I feel it'd be a better use of my money. He started laughing.
Nice.
He's like, I would, but I charge more than business schools. I'm like,
I ain't no nanny.
I go. That's why I want him to be with you. That's why I like that.
Totally. Oh man.
And then this morning I had Marcus Murphy on, who's like Ryan Deiss's right hand man at Digital Marketer.
Amazing.
Also a brilliant guy. But yeah.
That's dope, man. Yeah, like, and I mean, to be completely frank, like, you're one of the inspirations for why I started the show. No lie. Awesome. Hand on heart, like, no lie. I was like, I see.
Hey, you're my inspiration. You're my inspiration for why I wanted to grow a big agency. So
appreciate you, bro.
We help each other.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
But yeah, no lie. I was
you've come a long way. We both come a long way, I should say, since when I came to Brisbane. What was that? 2.5 years ago?
Oh my God.
Almost 3 years ago.
How crazy is that? We need to share that story for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you were like, when I first met you, you were downstairs doing like lunch and learns for the people at the office there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. For like, and what, like 8 people showed up?
On like Google Analytics or something like that, even. Not even like Facebook ads or anything.
Totally. Share to a page. No, I want to share to a group, not a page. Man, I can't wait till I get a growth and greatness assistant. Just like good old Gary V. Just people rolling shit out.
So I had someone at one point that was walking around filming content for me.
Yes.
And it's very, very awkward in the beginning. And then you kind of get used to it, and then it goes away, and you're like, wow, I miss it. I miss that camera in my face.
Totally, I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you. All right, we are on the pre-roll. Everyone, if you can hear Jason and you can hear myself, do us a favor, please, and give us a fire emoji, give us a boxing glove emoji, any emoji you choose, right? We've got 9 people here so far. Tech check. Just give us an emoji if you can hear us, you can see us. That's going to be super helpful for us. It'll be really weird if we were talking for an hour and only him and I can hear each other and no one else can hear anything.
Just kidding.
Yeah, totally.
We should just do the whole show like that and mess with people. People will not know what's going on. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Totally. It'll be the episode with no views.
Yeah, read our lips. Read our lips. If you can understand what we're saying, you're gonna make millions. But we're not saying it. You got to read our lips.
Totally. Oh, so good. And also for all of you here, Jason's gonna drop some stuff, and every time I get to do the show, I get to pick a brain that I look up to and that I believe can contribute to our path onto growth and path towards greatness. So if you know a friend that needs to watch this, please do tag them in it right now, because I'm gonna pick some stuff out of Jason's brain. We haven't got caught up in a really long time. We've ran in the same circles for a while, and Jason has gone on since the first time we met. We'll drop that story too. Since the first time we met, we've grown a lot, I have to say, personally as well as in business. Learned a lot at the same time, failed a lot. So I'll be asking all those questions when we get there. So if you run an ecom brand, if you run an apparel brand, if you run an agency, or you run a podcast, I mean, this is a guy with many talents, right? And you want to learn, even if you want to learn how to get mentors, I'm going to be dropping that too, because he's got some serious mentors and firepower behind his back, magnificent brains that he gets to tap into at will, almost, time permitting, of course. So tag a friend. If you know a friend that needs to see this, make sure you tag a friend. You do not want to miss this live, especially because of the fact that you get to ask the questions. This ain't my show, this is your show. So we'll get to questions at the end of the 15, 20 minute mark, close to the end. We'll get to ask all those questions. So for the people that are here, if you can see us, you can hear us, drop an emoji and tag a friend. All right, Jason, we can get back to talking. We've got like 5 minutes left before the pre-roll stops.
You're
and we
way
go
more
live.
professional when it comes to your lives than I am. I mean, you're tagging, asking for shares. You're doing everything right. I should be taking notes on how to do this.
I copy from,
I got it.
Yeah, bro. I copy from the best. Like, here's the thing, right? Like, I know that within my personal circle and Facebook, because I used to work in TV, if I did a shit job, I'd have all my my TV ex-colleagues be like, "What the hell are you producing, man?"
Yeah, no, you're doing it right. I like it.
It's super fun.
I'm
getting to grow so much, and that's something I'd love to ask you about when we do go live as well, just on the perfectly mentored side. Just to have that opportunity. I'm learning myself how great of an opportunity it is to have a show, to actually sit down, not only have the conversation, which is selfishly speaking, that's my ultimate upside, but for other people to join on that with you and get to ask the questions. And yeah, can't wait to dig into that part.
And I mean, that's why I started doing, we'll talk about it on the show, but that's why I started doing a little spin-off called Thrive Time, which is like, I've just, so many entrepreneurs are needing help. So I went back and I tapped into some of the great guests that I had on the podcast. And I said, look, you delivered fire on the podcast. Come on now, let's do it live. And now let's answer other people's questions. And we could just talk about how to thrive now in today's market, because now everyone's feeling a little bit anxious or a little bit full of fear. And the support was really overwhelming. In fact, one of the big guests that I had lined up for later, they were scheduled in, bumped up their schedule in order to come out and do this. So
that's awesome.
That's pretty good when I launched that name. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I think the one thing that's happening, the phenomenon of what's happening right now to every single country, and almost like there's no country that is untouched. The phenomenon is, and I was talking to my wife about this, it really does bring out the best and the worst of people. And
true colors come out.
True colors come out, exactly. Like true intentions come out, authenticity, and talk about like the truest show of empathy. Like, no one is safe, right? I don't know if you know about Ellen DeGeneres. We kind of spoke about it a few episodes ago. Ellen, one of the most loved personalities on the planet, just unwittingly, she was being authentic. She was being herself. And this is the dangerous part. She said, she compared being in isolation to being in prison. And then Twitter just like, oh, you mean you're a $47 million prison? How horrible for you. And they just shat all over Ellen DeGeneres. And one other celebrity that caused one other celebrity, I don't know who that is my wife told me the story. She goes, that celebrity then went on to say, Ellen, I've heard multiple stories of Ellen DeGeneres being not a very good person in real life. So for every one story that you send to me or you tweet at me, I will donate money to this charity. And the stories just started flooding out like crazy. So no one is safe. Like no one is safe.
It's crazy also because, I mean, look, nowadays everyone, easy to pick you apart. Everyone's looking, and especially in the celebrity culture, look, the thing they love to do the most is tear someone down. What do they love to do second to that is help build them back up, right? It's a crazy, I don't know how it is there, but from a Western society, like American culture, celebrity cultures, we love the tear down, but we also then love the build to back up. Yeah. Like if you could rise back up, you have fans for life.
Yes.
But like, I mean, look, I don't know the whole story, but there's so many different, like, look, you could live in $1 billion house, you could live in a bedroom. It's if your mind feels like she can't do what she loves every day, which is go out to the studio, which is go out and bring people love and joy, whatever, then maybe that is a prison to her.
Exactly.
$40 billion house or not, she didn't mean it like, hey, this sucks, I'm trapped, I have nowhere to go, right? Like maybe it's look, for a lot of people, they feel like they're in a prison, but compared to someone else, like you could always do that. You could always compare downwards, right?
Totally.
And that's what leads to gratitude. Yes, it sucks for me, but there's people who have it worse. And then that person has it worse. And then, I mean, I guess that's the easiest way to figure out gratitude in your life. If you can't figure out how to be happy with what you have, I mean, it sounds kind of like wrong, but you'll understand what I mean is think about people who have it worse than you. And then you'll instantly feel better about your life. Not the right thing to do, but if you have trouble being grateful for the blessings in your life, think about the people who don't have your blessings. Awesome. Right? Like that's the easiest way to figure it out.
Let's take that live.
Yeah, I mean that's really the simplest.
Amazing. Dude, so Jason's about to drop some cool stuff on us. We just had our pre-roll just then, and already he was dropping fire. I just wanted to make sure that I introduce Jason before we kick off into the show. We are going to be talking about some really, really great stuff here. So let me intro Jason real quick. Jason is an obsessed marketer. He turned his obsession into a clothing brand called True Rivalry, sold across 250 clothing stores in North America. The brand was the marketing for the brand was so successful, he ended up getting the attention and forming a close relationship with Shark Tank to Daymond John. Daymond, if you're watching this, we'd love to have you on our show. For some reason, if you're watching this. Now, today, through JPORT Media, Jason's agency, him and his team are using the latest marketing strategies to help businesses get awareness, increase their bottom line, and including, him and his team took a client from $2,500 in monthly sales to in excess of $300,000 in monthly sales in under a year while retaining the profitable ROI. Right. This is the really impressive part, and this is why I love having Jason on the show. Jason's been mentored by, taught, coached for, and interviewed Daymond John, Gary Vaynerchuk, Ryan Deiss, Frank Kern, Tim Burd, Depesh Mandalia, Howell, Akbar Sheikh, and so many more. And he's got his own podcast as well. He's the host of Perfectly Mentored, and he's been featured in Forbes, Inc. magazine, and a whole bunch of other press as well. So without further ado, I'm so excited to be able to introduce my good friend, Jason Portnoy. Jason, what's going on, my man?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's funny, after doing so many different podcasts and reading bios, like people are always getting a little bit awkward hearing it. And I'm like, okay, I'm reading your bio, relax. And then listening to you go off, I'm like, yeah, this is very awkward listening to yourself about that.
Take a compliment, bro.
I'll take the compliment, but it's still awkward to hear.
I hear you.
But
I hear you. I'm
thank you.
the same. No, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come on the show. For all of you that are joining us, do remember to tag a friend who needs to see this. If you know a friend that, or you yourself, run an e-commerce brand, run an agency, run a podcast, or are looking to get mentored by someone in your field, Jason's got strategies for days. So what we're going to be talking about today, the underpinning of it really is marketing strategies and how marketing strategies beat tactics and hacks every single time. But as we develop this, we've talked about this in multiple episodes already so far. And what I'm learning, and we've spoken to many great minds, Jason being one of them, that we're about to talk to. And what I'm learning is so many of them are strategists and almost like pseudo philosophers before they are tacticians. So it's not only with marketing that we're going to be talking about today, but it applies to so many different parts. And that's what gets me really, really pumped about what we're going to be diving into. Talk to me a bit about that. Like, talk to me a bit about how you see the world. What I mean by that is why go principles? Like, if for anyone that is so caught up with the, oh my God, this is the latest tactic, this is the latest hack for business, for marketing, for Facebook ads, for any other part in life, what is the lens that causes you to go, wait a second, I need to take a step back to be successful. I need to look at principles.
It's a great question. I think it comes from the fact that life is difficult as it is. So I try to find the path of like least resistance or the path that's going to be easier. And a lot of people think that tactics or hacks are the quick wins, the shortcuts. They are, but I love easiness. I love things that are predictable. When you're a marketer, when you're running paid media, it's almost hard to get 100% predictability, but I'll take as close to it as possible. And in order to find that predictability, in order to really get as close to that level as possible, you can't think in terms of like, okay, this is going to work. You have to know why it's going to work. I mean, our friend Justin Marshall, we were just talking about this. He had a great post and we were talking about it, saying that, you have to know why things work and why things don't. And you have to understand an overall point of view. I think if you could understand, for example, take marketing. If you can understand how to craft a sales offer, a valid sales offer, everything else becomes easy. Tactics, hacks, they'll all just complement it. But no one wants to go deeper. No one wants to go to that extra layer and peel back that extra layer and take a step back and upskill and learn that thing, because it's like, okay, cool, I'll just get that latest hack. The problem with hacks and tactics is they go away. I don't like things that just disappear on you. I'll learn from them. Don't get me wrong, I'll use hacks and tactics and optimize when they're there. But if you're going to be really successful, you have to rely on something. You have to get as close to predictable and yeah, you have to get that really consistent. If you're selling anything, if you're in business, you want consistency, you want predictability. That's the closest thing you'll have to growing a profitable business. And if you can figure out how to do that, then you're golden. But a lot of people don't take that approach. They'll take it as like, okay, let me apply this one tactic. I know I said I like things easier, but I'm prepared to go a step backwards in order to go 15 steps forward versus one step. Let me see where I am. One step.
So, which brings us to an interesting follow-up question to that. Why do you think it is then that most fail to appreciate the value of the philosophy, the underpinning principle, and why is it that hacks and tactics just become they're just so much more popular? It just seems like it catches on so much more, and the strategists and the people that talk about principles have to do so much more convincing.
Because they're sexy, right? If I told you, hey, I'm going to teach you the theory on how to make $1 million, you're like, okay, cool. But if I'm like, I'm going to show you the step-by-step guide of how I made $1 million, you're like, okay, shortcut. I'm going to follow this guy. But the problem is it worked for them. It may not work for you, but the theory around why they did that, why they took the actions, I think it just comes down to people are also by nature lazy. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but by nature we're lazy and we always look for the quick win. And tactics and hacks and things like that, like tactics is the wrong word, but hacks for sure, is the quick win versus, and like I said, just like, look at what all the gurus are out there selling right now. They're not selling you theories of anything. They're selling you like, here's the step-by-step guide of how I did
exactly
this.
How I did this thing.
It's
yes,
sexy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. And I'm so glad that it came out of the horse's mouth. That you're the one that's saying it, and I can't agree more. Naturally, it strikes me, the best analogy I guess that strikes me really is the people that do the step by step. It's almost like, take this pill. It applied for my context and my illness, or what, take this pill and apply for my brain to be the limitless pill for me. If you take it, the assumption is that you will have it as well. However, the strategists that I know and the people that understand principles are the ones that act more like doctors. It's like, no, don't take this pill. Let me show you the skill of diagnosis, of how to actually look at almost any situation in context, different bodies, and how different pills might then react differently to different bodies. You might take this pill and this body might thrive and grow. This one, it might end up killing you.
I mean, that's the perfect way to put it. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's the equivalent of, all right, D, you had this e-commerce client and you did this strategy on them. And Jason's going to work on your e-commerce client. Well, my e-commerce client's different. I don't know the demo that you're going after. I don't know the persona you're going after versus mine. And I take it, it's just like, hey, this cured my client from, this. So it should cure your client from X. No, that's not the way it works. And I think people don't want to go to that one place that you talked about, which is super, super important, is prescription. And I think Ryan Deiss said it this way: prescription without diagnosis is malpractice.
Exactly.
If you prescribe someone something without diagnosing what their problem is, it's malpractice. Unfortunately, in the marketing industry, it happens every single day.
Totally agree. And speaking about Justin, by the way, he's got the wavy hand of emoji. Let's talk through this as well. Was there a moment where you yourself were allured and pulled in by the sexy tactics, maybe earlier in your career? And what did you have a transition point, or were you always a person that was able to look, what internally me and my team we call it the fourth dimension? Were you able to always see the fourth dimension, or was it always like, wait, I need to stop looking at tactics and all these quick hacks. I need to take a step back?
No, I'm human, right? So especially starting the clothing brand, especially early days in marketing, it's, I think as you have imposter syndrome, which is an important thing, that's what leads a lot of people to seeing, like, this person did this and got this return. Wow, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should have to look at what they're doing, buy their course. I spent tons of money on courses, a lot of them just to see what's out there, pretty much, not necessarily to use it, but just to see what other people are doing. But in the beginning, look, I think it's, like I said, it's human nature to look for shortcuts, and there's nothing wrong with it. The problem is, and it's almost like you slap yourself in the face every time you buy something to get a shortcut because you get sold on it, and you're like, man, this isn't a shortcut. This is everything I already knew. So you slap yourself and you're like, don't do this again. And then you get lured in by something shiny and you're like, oh man, this is going to take me from this to this. Oh, I'm going to do it again. And you keep doing it. And it's like, at some point you look at yourself and like, this is insanity, right? This is the exact definition of insanity. I'm gonna keep buying these stupid things that don't make me any better. And look, there's a lot of good people who put out a lot of good stuff. I'm not trying to knock it, but like at the same time, you have to execute. I think there's a lot of people who like to learn. I like to take things in, and not enough executors. Go out and figure things out on your own. And yeah, it'll probably cost you the same amount as all the 15 courses you got, but you'll be better off for it.
Amazing. Guys, everyone who's watching, Jason is already, like, we are, what is it, like 10 minutes in, and Jason's already dropping fire. If you know a friend that needs to see this, do not let them miss this episode. Tag them right now. This is going to be good. We're getting to the real stuff. And like I said in the post promoting this episode, Jason and I are two people that have no problem stirring the pot. So if you want to talk about realness,
and we rile each other up, that's the problem.
Yeah. And it's a problem, but it's also a great thing, because then it becomes unfiltered and you guys get the best of it. I love what you're talking about there as well, because so for the people that don't know me, in a past life, I trained Thai boxing for a while, and I remember someone telling me, listen, you can watch all the YouTube videos in the world about how to fight. Until you get punched in the face, nothing can prepare you for that. So the only way to be a better fighter is to fight. And the only way to, so you can take all these courses, sure. It's almost like, I almost feel like we need to start like a little self-help group and be like, hello, my name is D. I'm a guru-holic. I have been hooked on guru courses for the past 4 years.
I haven't bought a course in 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome, D. Thank you, D.
Exactly.
It's funny you mentioned boxing because I've boxed for years. In fact, my boxing
No
coach just a
way.
couple of months ago, passed away, and
Right.
yeah, and I still remember one of the first times I ever sparred. He was smart. He puts you with someone who's better than you, right? Because someone who's on your level or less doesn't know how to control themselves, right? Will go wild, will punch, and it will hurt. Someone who's better than you could still be effective, could dial down to 25% and still teach you. And I still remember we were dancing around, and the guy that I was sparring with kept looking at my coach, and my coach kept nodding his head no. I'm like, what's going on? Like, like what's going on? And so kept going and kept looking at the coach. No. Finally, the coach nodded his head yes, and he gave me like a body shot, like at 25%. But I left my whole body exposed, and I went right down. And it's like, that's the lesson, right? Like you could plan on a bag, you could tell them you keep your arms down, but nothing's going to prepare you to protect yourself than that body shot coming in. And that's the last time, like, well, probably not, but it's I definitely learned a valuable lesson from that one punch.
God bless your late coach. I have so much respect for coaches, especially in physical forms, because of that exact reason. They understand a dimension that most people can't, because it's physical, it's in front of you, and the stakes are a lot higher. If you train a fighter and you train them improperly, they risk serious injury. Like, yeah. A body blow, you take enough of those, you start bleeding internally, and you start peeing blood. Like, it's not fun.
I'll take being jabbed in the face a million times versus that body shot. That was
I hear, man. I hear you. In Muay Thai, you got the
off
body
topic.
kicks.
Don't take body shots, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, take body shot. I mean, there's different types of body shots. I mean, go on spring break and take body shots, but like, don't go in a boxing ring and take body shots. But yeah.
For sure, and it's such a great analogy to compare to the world of business, where really that's all you're doing, right? You can either thrive in the ring, or you can just be fighting to survive in the ring. And if you just rely on the pure tactics alone, I remember my coach told me, just do this one jab, and you're completely blind to the situation. You just rely on that one jab, you're just gonna get hurt. But the ones that understand the entire game, footwork, dodging, ducking and weaving, it's exactly the same in business. Now, let's dive a bit deeper yet again into those principles, the footwork, the dodging, the weaving, the ducking in business and in marketing. In your sense, are there some principles that time and time again have never, like, they're not failing you, you can pull them out time and time again?
From a business perspective is I mean, I think my gut, learning to trust my gut has come along. I mean, I'll still seek validation at times because, again, I'm human like everyone else. But more often than not, it comes back to like, man, I knew that all along. Like that, my gut was telling me so. That was the right move. That was the wrong move. So I think learning to develop, and I think that's a skill that gets developed, right? Because you trust it early on in the beginning, and it leads you down the wrong path, and you're like, ouch, okay, that sucks, and you learn, and your gut, it's like ads, right? Like, you got to let the algorithm do its work. You got to let life do its work and kind of steer you right. And you got to touch the stove to realize it's hot. Okay, I'm not going to touch the stove anymore. That's the same way with your gut. So I think time and time again, more often than not, the one thing I could rely on the most in business is my gut. And then it's also not being afraid to ask for help. I think that's something that I've never shied away from.
Wow, that's a big one.
I know it's not a tactic, but it's I don't want to pretend I know everything. I actually think it's egotistical to believe you never need help. And I realized the more I get to a different level in business and in life, the more help I actually need. Right. So I think a lot of people try to go do things their own. They fear looking stupid. They fear making making mistakes in front of other people. I think that's actually going to do you more harm than good. And that's what actually did me more harm than good. I don't know if that answers your question from a tactical or technical standpoint, but I mean, when it comes to business, definitely those two things.
And that brings us to a really nicely dovetails into the next thing. A lot of in this new normal, in this new world that we're living in right now, and with the onset of this new world, that transition was a really harsh transition. It wasn't like we had a year seeing it coming. It just happened almost out of nowhere, and a lot of people were caught completely unawares, and it wasn't their blind side for sure. Now, are you, and I know you work with, you advise a lot of brand owners and business owners, you consult them, and also you to some extent run their ads for them because of your team and your execution. That with that broad exposure, are you finding that very few of them, or rather a lot of them, have that trouble of being able to say to themselves, I do need help. I do need to reach out to someone. I need to be vulnerable and ask for it, as opposed to, I'm a business owner. I'm supposed to know everything because I have employees. I need to have this stoic front. Do you see that phenomenon after speaking to, the number of people that you've spoken to? Because I know you've been very generous with your time and taking one-on-one time with business owners.
Yeah, look, I think people are realizing right now that they need help more than they did before. So I actually think it's not being afraid. I think they're starting to realize it. I think the problem is you're starting to realize who the real good business owners are, and who the people should never be running a business are from all this. And I told you I wouldn't hold anything back, and I'm not. I think you're getting a lot of people who realize that they should be number twos or threes versus number ones in the business. We went through the last 10 years of a huge economic boom where pretty much you could go online and sell anything and have a potential to make money. And then the second something bad hits, you're realizing a lot of people are just not cut out for this. They can't ride it. And the truth is, we were lucky 10 years, but that's not realistic. That's not sustainable. Entrepreneurship, and you get to different levels, is a roller coaster. If you can't handle the downs, and then maybe you need to start thinking this. So I think a lot of people are starting to realize, hey, maybe I don't really want this. Maybe I want to sleep at night and also still have a good opportunity. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think they're needed in the world. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think happiness matters the most. Then you're getting the business owners who are like, hey, this is a fantastic opportunity. I get the opportunity at hand. Take advertising, for example. We talked about this, you and I talk about it all the time, that we're in this such weird magical moment where attention's at an all-time high and costs are at a pretty much 1 year low for some people. That's a perfect storm that may never exist again in our lifetime. So smart business people are getting it. Bad business people are sitting there saying, hey, we're taking a hit right now. Let's cut our advertising. Let's fire the agencies. Let's fire the people doing the advertising. Let's cut our advertising team. Let's dial back all advertising. It's fear. And when fear sets in, you have a lot of people who react emotionally, and the true business people are able to see past that. So the ones that are able to reach out and ask for help and be like, cool, I need a pivot, I need help. Those are the ones that are probably going to succeed. The ones that are like, hey, I know what to do. I'm just going to cut all my advertising costs. They're missing a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I hear you. And I remember seeing that Twitter thread that you put out as well with exactly talking about exactly that mindset. For those of
that actually came, the Twitter thread you're talking about, that actually came. It was, being fully transparent, it was a client that was about to fire us, right? He was like, hey, look, we're cutting all advertising, and unless you renegotiate a fee structure with us, like, we got to figure it out. The irony you and I spoke to offline is that they ended up paying us more now because of the fee structure, because of how well they're doing, which is a good thing. But they were about to cut all advertising costs. That was a 2-hour conversation in order to, and I know the guy, so I put in way more time into that conversation, being like, this is a big mistake. You have to trust me. This is a big mistake. You have to ride the momentum that you have right now. Do not cut your advertising costs. And he was, in all fairness, bummed because retail, which was the big part of their business, just pulled multi-million dollar contracts from them, saying, hey, we're canceling this line. So I get it. I get their fear. But, when you're in that situation and you need sales and you need customers, why are you going to cut that one thing that's going to bring them to you, right? If you cut this, where are you going to get those sales from? Where are you going to get those customers? And I have to really break it down. And that's when you realize sometimes that, I don't know if you're like this, but a lot of times we take for granted industry jargon. We take for granted certain things that we know to be truth. And it was explained to me as first language, third language, right? This is our first language. Marketing is our first language. Business is our first language. For a lot of people talking about advertising, it's foreign to them. They don't get what you're saying. Only when I really, and I don't mean dumb it down in a bad way because he's stupid, but only when I dumbed it down and really explained to him what this is what we're going to do and what this is going to bring and why this is so important, did he sit there and say, aha, I get it. And agree to like raise their budget by 80% and keep raising the budget and keep throwing more money at it because he finally understood it. And it was a big lesson for me all the years I've been doing this. Big lesson I just learned on the spot was like, hey, I really think we need to find a way to communicate with our clients a lot clearer. And I feel a lot of people don't. They put out a lot of messages that just go way over the client's head and wonder why they lost the deal, wonder why the client's not happy. It was a big learning curve that really happened in the last month for me.
Amazing. We're actually talking about this internally with the team right now. You know who's really good at this? Parents. Parents are really, really good at this. Why? Because it has nothing to do with, when you were saying that sentence, someone on the receiving end as an adult might be like, dumb it down. I'm not stupid. Why do you have to dumb it down? I'm an intelligent human being. Parents, their kids, they're intelligent human beings too. They made them. Like, parents feel all the love and joy to look at their kid like, oh my God, this is the smartest, prettiest, handsomest, fittest, thing I ever made. But at that point, when they have to explain something and talk about marketing principles or principles in general, this is just communication. When they explain something to their kid, oh, what do you do for work, Dad? Oh, well, you don't explain it in this way. Be like, well, you see, there's this thing called ROAS, and then we take the CPA, we divide. The kids are going to be like, I regret asking the question. Why? Like, I'm just interested to know what do you do. Dad,
I'm still confident my wife doesn't know what I do.
Right,
I'm still confident it's over her head.
Right, exactly. However, if a kid asks you, or if like grandma asks you, you're more prone to have to try to, what's the word? How do I explain this to you? Well, you know the internet? You use the internet, right, Grandma? Yeah, cool. So we use the internet. So imagine the internet is like one giant shopping mall, and we just help people in that shopping mall find certain stores. And now Grandma's like, oh, I've been to a shopping mall, I get it. And so, talk about, it's so funny that with the theme of marketing principles or principles in general, that's what marketers do. With that's what everyone says, right? You create a sales page, you create a hook, don't use anything above 9th grade English. Keep it really, really simple.
Yeah, thank you for breaking that down. It's true. And I feel like most people ignore it. And I feel like here, a lot of marketers market to their clients the way they would market to other marketers, right? Your client is not in your client is not in your industry, doesn't know what you're talking about. But I feel like there's this whole chest puffing or everyone, or can I swear on this podcast?
You can't. You sure can. I do. So
or like not even swear word, but dick measuring contest between people and wanting to show they know the most, and that created that culture of afraid to ask questions because then maybe someone will think you're stupid and you're not as good as them, and whatnot. And it turned into this really like ugly culture that I kind of backed away of a little bit. Was all these circles that you and I ran in, like, and we still run in. I have nothing but respect for them, but I feel like marketers rank lower in trust than politicians. There was a study that came out, and we rank lower than politicians.
Gallup research.
Yeah, we're one of the lowest ranked. Why? Because we're not transparent. We think we're being transparent when we're talking, but we're being transparent when we're talking, and we're not even transparent when we talk to our industry peers, right? We show numbers without context. We show this with that. That when, no one knows what to trust anymore. Oh, this guy just showed that he got a 45,000x return. Is that good? Well, he spent $1, right? So, I mean, like, this guy says that person's bad, that this person's good, that I don't know who to trust. Yes. We all look like sleazy car salesmen.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, if I'm not wrong, I think we rank lower than sleazy car salesmen in the Gallup research paper. I need to look it back up again. But for those of you that do not know, watching, Gallup Research does a survey every single year in most Western countries. I know definitely in North America and here in Australia as well. And they rank the trust factor of different vocations. and people in the marketing field, and I'm painfully aware of this, and we communicate this with our team all the time. We rank so low, it's shameful. And there's a reason for that. We caused, as an industry, if you even want to call it that, if there's no union or anything, but as an industry, we definitely did this to ourselves.
Well, yeah, look, I speak to a client that you speak to, right? And a prospect, for example. You and I don't know each other. They're like, I just got off a call with this person who promised me this. Well, shit, I don't want to lose the account. So let's show them my best results. Or let's say, yeah, we'll aim for that KPI and get it. Like, and that's how it keeps going, because everyone's just putting out. It's honestly, I'm a little bit turned off by our industry, and I think there's a lot of cleaning up that has to be done. And I think the biggest disservice we're doing is to other marketers who feel inadequate compared to what other people are putting out there. And it's ruining their chance of learning, of actually building a better agency for themselves, of better helping their clients or better helping their business, because they just measuring up compared to everyone else. And maybe it's no different in any other industry. I just happen to know this industry. And it's something that's always bothered me about it.
Yeah, same here, and I think same for a lot of the peers that we that do run in those circles. And it's a funny game, right? It's a funny game because those seem to be the unspoken rules of the game. So that whenever you're in a culture where that is the predominant mode of communication, you stick out like a sore thumb. You have to opt out and just not be part of that conversation, or you have to lean in. And I know there are some that try to fight it.
I also don't want to be Debbie Downer, right? Like, there's a lot of good things about marketing. Like, look at you and I. We're on this conversation right now. Old school business people would see us as competitors and be like, he runs an agency, you run an agency. Why are you spending any time talking to him? Yet, still in our culture, we're like, in our industry, we're probably one of the closest people that talk to each other, that competition talks to each other, or competition, you want to call it that. I think we're throwing out. So there's still a lot of good that's happening in it. I didn't want to nitpick on the bad, but one of the major things that I love in it is the fact that, like, I mean, yeah, like, my grandfather, as a business person, would slap me for talking to you right now, and would slap me for talking to another friend of mine right now. Like, and most of my friends are in this industry. Like, he would be like, no, you take them all out of business.
You don't share trade secrets. Yeah.
Don't trade. But we're slowly learning that, like, if I don't talk to you, you don't talk to me, and we don't talk to each other, then everyone's going to suffer, because there's many ways to skin a cat in the marketing game. And we have to talk to each other to see what's going on and keep up to date. And I could literally run a Facebook ad, and you could run a Facebook ad to get clients, and the chances of us stepping over each other, or the chat, like, I mean, there's more than enough clients, to the fact that people call me, like, they'd be like, hey, I know you just spoke to this person. Do you want me to bow out? I'm like, no, man, they weren't a right fit for us, but you go for it. Like, that's crazy. That's a good thing that happened in our industry. So I didn't mean to, like, shit all over our industry, because there's a lot of good things I love about it.
And I guess with any other industry, it really are, you get the pockets of the people trying to hold up the torch and really, shine a light on what's great. And then you've got naturally the other ones that don't. And I guess it's just law of nature. Got the good eggs, got the bad eggs, got all the ones in between, every color of the rainbow.
Like you said, you just pull out of those conversations.
Yeah, for sure. That's the best thing to do. Now, speaking about conversations, I like to shift gears a little bit here. With Perfectly Mentored, you get to have a lot of conversations with some very, very great minds. I am a rookie fledgling in the scene. Tell me what, speaking to having people like Gary Vee on your podcast, having people that have run, like, and exited, what is it, like 24 multi-million-dollar businesses, created and exited, getting to speak to such minds. How has that changed you as a person?
So, I mean, Perfectly Mentored was the perfect name for it, because it was about me being mentored, right? Like, these were most of the people that come on the show, for the most part, were people that I've admired, looked up to, and I've heard speak, and I'm like, wow, I resonate with their message. I want to learn more. Here's the problem I learned. If I called Gary Vaynerchuk up and said, hey man, I would really love an hour of your time to come sit in your office and just ask you a bunch of questions that could help me grow my business and really just pick your brain, you down? Probably around 100% of the time he'll say no to that. Maybe like the weird one, he'll respond to yes in a tweet and be like, oh, look, Gary's the best. But if I sat there and said, hey man, I would really love to interview you. I think you bring a ton of value that I could introduce you to my audience and my world. And Gary doesn't need any introduction to my world, but I'm just saying anyone else, take anyone else and you go in and sit there and say, hey, but I'd really love to interview you for an hour. All of a sudden I'm like, hey man, yeah, of course. Well, Tuesday's free. Like the time that they didn't have is suddenly free when it turned into reframing what I wanted. Now, I started it really with no care about the listeners. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It was like, I don't care what the listeners want to know. I want to go in and ask the questions I want from myself, which made the podcast unique because I wasn't thinking about anyone else. I wasn't trying to cater towards anyone else. I was like, look, if I got an hour of time, I'm going to ask them these questions on how to grow my business. And I'm just going to phrase it as like, if you were talking to somebody on this, how would you do it?
Totally.
And really, I guess that resonated with people because most people had the same questions I had. And a lot of them got tired of hearing, their person talk about the same thing over and over when their questions weren't answered. Like one of the things that always bothered me was Gary would preach patience. Be patient, be patient, be patient, be patient. And I would always look at it and be like, okay, but at some point, patience just becomes delusion, right? Like what point do you stop being patient? Exactly. At what point do you just be like, man, this is a bad idea, right? I'm going to give up. So that was really one of the first questions I asked him. I'm like, what point does patience come delusion? And so many people resonated with that question. Like, yeah, I've been asking that question in my head, but no one's asking it because they just want to feed. They're worried about, oh, I want this to be really good, so Gary shares it, or that my audience will like it and share it. I just really go in and selfishly ask questions that I'd want to know in order to grow my business. And chances are it's the same questions everyone else has.
Absolutely. If it's a burning question for you, you can sure bet that there are a whole bunch of other people that have that question top of mind as well.
That and the ability to, and which you're really good at, is in the beginning you could actually listen to my first few podcasts and you could see I had the questions written out and be like, here's question one. Okay. You would give me something really golden nugget. I'd be like, that's great. Question two. And question two. And I'm like, and then I listened to past podcasts. I'm like, man, I should have went deeper on that. That would have been awesome. That would have been really, really, really good. Then you start throwing out the script. You start having a direction more of where you want to go things, and then you're open to it. And it happens all the time. Like I'll have the follow-up question in mind based on what they say, and they'll say something. I'm like, hey, look, there's two ways I could go with this, but like, I want to explore this way for a second. That skill comes when you just get more comfortable, but that's one of the things that turning it into a conversation really helped me and really kind of helped the guests open it up a little bit more in terms of it not being too structured.
Amazing. And I'm looking at your website right now, and it's got Molly Pittman, it's got Frank Kern. Yeah, Molly's the sweetest. I love her to bits. Love you, Moll. If you're watching this.
I love Molly.
Yeah.
It's the second time I said I love Molly today to her. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. You got Ryan Deiss, you got Tim Burd, you got Depesh, you got Kurt Malley, Josh Elizici from who runs Snow. Do you see does anything pop off now that you've spoken to that many people? It's definitely happening to me where I'm seeing patterns. I'm seeing commonalities. I'm seeing the principles. Are there any that really stick out to you? Because I'd love for anyone watching and everyone watching to be able to extract those and hopefully go, wait a second, I need to go to Perfectly Mentored and listen into some of these ones, because that's the gold, right? That's the principles.
I think the biggest thing from those high achievers or those successful people that really, they think differently. They think way differently than the average person, just in how they view things, how they view everything. You talk about strategy and tactics. Most people are hacks and tactics. Then you have the few that are like strategy, and they're just seeing big picture, like and doing things that to a normal person just be like, well, why would they ever do that? And then you understand only later on what their game plan is. Like they just think way more down the road, while also thinking short term and how the pieces play out. I think the biggest thing that you could really point from all of them is they're all really good at reverse engineering what they want. A lot of us go through life and being like, all right, I'm going to do this, this, and this, or even from, let's be practical in what we do. I'm going to run this ad to this audience because this lookalike is well, but they don't really, and this is where strategy comes in. They don't be like, okay, well, who's this message going to? What's the desired result that I want from this? Okay, what would make them take that result? And reverse engineering all the way back. These guys are incredible at it, and they do it like that. They don't need a pen like I do to reverse engineer something. They see it, and they could reverse engineer backwards and see all the steps. It just really comes down to like if you listen to the way they talk, you're definitely right. There's patterns, but they think really, really differently about the world and about business than an average person does. I'll give you a perfect example. One of the things I've learned was thinking in terms of value versus expense, right? One of the things I learned was like, people say this is expensive. I look at it as, does it offer value? Is the value there, right? If the value is there, that's more worth it for me. Like, it's expensive to get someone to do this for you. Well, not if it saves 2 hours of my time that make me do this, right? Like, and allow me to grow that way. Most people don't see it. They see it as cost, finite, but it's finite. It's binary. It's either it's costing me money or it's making me money. That's not always the case.
Amazing, which is exactly what you applied to that client of yours that wanted to shut off the advertising cost. It's not a cost. There's proportionate value to that. Almost, in fact, disproportionate depending on the return on ad spend. Amazing.
And you see, but you see it because you're a marketer and you're a business owner, and the people listening to this, they get it to an extent because they're in this space too. But really, like, there's a lot of people, like, you're just taking so many things for like, there's a lot of people who look at things as like I said, it's either costing me money or making me money, and it's almost impossible. And you know this from scaling the way you scaled. You cannot look at it like that. You cannot look at it as like that. Like, people think employees cost them money. No, employees make you money. Sorry to tell you this. Like, your team is the most valuable part to you. They're more worthy than you are, right? In your business, like you need them. Like, I've heard it said many times that like the CEO works for their employees, and that's the way you kind of have to look at it, right? Like, and if you want your employees to work just as hard as you, give them equity in your company. Otherwise, stop bitching and complaining that they don't work as hard as you.
For sure,
they shouldn't.
For sure. I mean, value and cost. Again, I forget who it was that said it to me and broke it down for me. Someone way wiser than me in my younger years. They said, here's the difference between value and cost. How much would you pay for a locksmith if your door was locked? I said, I don't know, like $40. I'd wait for the building manager to show up, even if it was midnight. Be like, okay, now if you got a kid, you have a baby, you actually unlock your door, and you have a toddler in your house, and the bathtub's on. How much would you pay a locksmith then? All of a sudden, you're like, I don't know, $1,000. Like, I think that locksmith kind of has me by the balls there. Same exact act of unlocking the door is the act, but the value behind the door all of a sudden changes completely. So the value of what you perceive changes completely as well.
The problem is most people don't see things as emergencies when they really are. Most people don't see not having exposure in business as an emergency. It's crucial, right? Like businesses don't fail because you're like let's say your product's great. Businesses don't fail because of random reasons or financing or whatnot. Businesses fail because no one knows about you. They can't buy your product. If no one knows about you, they can't buy your stuff. If you don't keep advertising to them, they can't continue to do business with you. So like, you're looking at things the wrong way. And that's what I've learned from a lot of these people is they're true and true entrepreneurs slowly start seeing that. And if you don't, I mean, it's going to hurt your business. But like, you start saying, they all, like Josh, you named Josh as an example. Like, Josh is one of the most brilliant people I've ever come across. The way he looks at things, and they all read strategy. Roland Frazier with the 24 exits reads strategy. Josh reads Harvard Business Review. They're all studying the past. They all know the past. They're all like, they're smart strategists. They're not smart tacticians and hacks, and,
Right.
and like
Yes.
they know the one hack that got them somewhere.
Yes. Right. So you explaining that helps me appreciate that saying that, you know, everyone kind of slings off the tip of their tongue, like, be a chess player, not a checkers player. You saying that helps that analogy, makes it so much more rich. Totally makes a ton of sense. It's almost like they have a different set of lenses. It's almost like someone gave them a different set of lenses where they built their own, and now they see the world in a way that most commoners don't.
And that's what led me to start the podcast, really, to take this
Amazing.
question full circle. That's what led me to start it. It's like, cool, I want to become perfectly mentored. I want to learn from all that. I have the hunger, I have the desire, I have the sponge mentality to really soak it in and learn. Let me see how they're viewing things, because I think the best way to do it is study other strategists. What's the best way to study other strategists? I mean, I could read a book about what Josh did. I could read a book about Roland Fraser did, or I could ask them directly one-to-one.
Amazing. The greats study the greats.
Study the greats.
So
you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like you're not gonna reinvent the wheel. Let's be honest. Like you're not. Like, very few of us in this world are reinventing wheels, right? Like sorry, but your giant idea to change the world, I hope you do it, but chances are you're not going to do it. But like, none of us are really reinventing the wheel. So why not just figure out what the best do, emulate that, copy it, learn from it. Don't copy imply as a tactic, but understand the strategy of why they did those things, and learn from that. And you'll see, if you look at the greats, they almost have the same strategy. It's like the same strategy,
the patterns,
same strategy,
the principles,
patterns. Yeah.
This is why good old Uncle Bruce Lee is one of my favorite philosophers, because that's exactly it. Take what works, discard what doesn't, create your own form. And that's my watch, rinse, and repeat, which is why I'm so grateful.
That's what he did, right? He took the best of every martial art.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting, everyone watching, we're getting to that, close to that part of the show, the 20-15 minutes, where I get to pick questions that you guys ask in the comments and throw it towards Jason. Feel free to throw him a curveball. I would love nothing more than to watch him squirm. If you can come up with a really good curveball, I'll make sure I throw it his way. That's going to be fun. In the meantime, I'm going to be selfish, just like Jason did when he first started his podcast, and I'm just going to keep asking questions, and you guys pick your game up and start tagging your friends and asking questions in the comments. So here's another question, burning question. I'm sure some people watching this would have it on top of their mind as well. How the hell did you convince these people to come onto your show, say yes, and donate their time?
So it's funny. I just actually had a conversation about this today with someone. I mean, most people take it from a sales perspective for a second. Why do most people not get the sale, or you don't get the client? It's because you don't ask for the sale, right? Rule number one in sales, you can put the best pitch on the table, build the best deck, show everyone everything you got. And if you just leave it as like, cool, you think about it and let me know, email me later, they won't. You have to ask for the sale. And they said, like, someone said, the amount of money you make is in direct proportion to the amount of times you've asked for that money, right? Like, so you want to make more money, you got to ask people for more money. So this is one thing, I've never been shy, like when doing that. And I've been persistent and tenacious in that regards. I feel I'm very good at judging risk reward, and the risk of them saying no to me, really, like, I mean, that's so inconsequential to the reward of it, of them saying yes and being on it. So, even when Daymond John, when he first mentored me with the clothing brand, it was on Twitter. I was reading his book, and I'm like, hey, you like helping young entrepreneurs? I'm a young entrepreneur just getting started in a clothing brand. Love what you've done. Would you help me? And no reply. And I keep doing it, keep asking in different ways, like sales are in the follow-up, right? So keep doing it in different ways, all not being obnoxious, but being persistent and still adding value. Like, I tweet pictures of his book and compliment him. And then finally he responded, Daymond John.
How long? How long did you do that for?
I don't think it was crazy long. It was probably like a couple of weeks until he responded. But
still,
here
persistent.
we go. Yeah, but DaymondJohn.com. So I go to DaymondJohn.com, all hi, I'm going to find a phone. There was no phone number or no email address on there. So it was a blow off, right? Like, it was like, You want help? Go to my website. You know, like, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, hey, on your website right now, don't see the contact information. How do we set this up? No reply, no reply. Finally, I got a DM from him saying DaymondJohn.com. And I'm like, all right, this isn't working. Like, there's nothing there, nothing there. Then probably around 3 months later, and I still remember this, I had mono, and mono wrecked me. I got a call saying, hey, Daymond has an opening in New York next week. You think you can make it? I'm like,
get out of town.
I'm like, I'm there. And it's pretty embarrassing. I forgot my wallet in the taxi. So I didn't have a wallet, so I didn't have ID in order to get into the building. Like, so they won't let you up, right? So they're like, well, we're gonna have to call the office. No one was answering in the office. So Daymond John ended up coming in, and they're like, hi, Mr. John, can you come here for a second? I'm like, oh. And he came. They're like, this guy says he has a meeting with you and whatever. And so he ended up taking me up. And so like, it was memorable. It was memorable in the sense that like I'm the idiot that didn't have any identification on him and needed the guy I was meeting to like a guy like Daymond John to come escort
like
me
usher
up.
you upstairs,
usher me up versus like his assistant or whatever. So that was funny. But everyone else, like Gary Vaynerchuk, when he's the one that told me to start a podcast. So I said there were 4 other people around. He said start a podcast. Everyone's like, okay, start a podcast. Took notes. I'm like, I don't need notes to say start a podcast. I'm like, cool. Will you be on it? And everyone's like, huh? Like, because to me, it's why not? They didn't ask. Everything that I've ever wanted in life, no one's going to give to you. You have to ask for it, and you have to learn how to ask without being rude. You have to learn how to be comfortable asking, because life's not given to you on a silver platter. So how do I get all these people? Is honestly, and this is such like I wish there was a better answer. I asked them. I put myself in good situations in order to make the ask.
Right. No hack.
I'm okay. I'm okay with no answer. I'm okay with a no, because a no is just no for now. Maybe in 3 weeks if I ask you again. Maybe if I build up my list a little bit. And then I also knew once I got Gary, my ask would be a lot easier, because my emails were like, hey, had Gary Vaynerchuk on, right? So, look, Gary was episode 20. He told me at the end of me being persistent, he's like, you're not going to take no for an answer. I'm like, no. He's like, well, do 20 episodes. He knew most people fail after episode 8, right? Most people fail the podcast after episode 8. So he knew if I went to 20, I would do it. And look, it took me 9 months because I was lazy and I didn't want to do a podcast in order to do it. And then the one thing people don't realize about that story is he actually said, do 20 episodes and email me. And I hope his team's not listening, but yeah. So I went to his, I'm like, cool, I'll email you. And I left the room going like, if I email him, there's no way he's responding, right? Like, nice guy, but he's not responding. So I went to his head of business development, which I know. I'm like, hey, Alex, Gary told me, remember I told you I wanted to ask him to be on the podcast? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, he told me to do 20 episodes and I should reach out to you as soon as it's done. And he's like, oh yeah, cool. Yeah, no problem. So what I did, I did 20 episodes. I reached out to Alex. I'm like, Alex, remember the 20 episodes? Boom, all 20 done, ready. And he's like, oh, that's awesome, man. Okay, I'm looping his assistant in and we got the date. So, I mean, it's also being a little bit creative in how you're asking and understanding that like emailing someone doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a response, and figure out ways around it. Right.
Again, yet another principle rather than a hack. It really is just around being resourceful, being persistent, having just it doesn't even take balls. It's just having the right perspective to know that it's all in the ask. And
I love it. People are like, it takes balls to ask for the sale. It takes all. No, it's how else are you going to get it? You want that girl to date you? You want that guy to date you? You have to ask them out. You want someone to pay you money for your services? You have to ask them for it, right? There's only so many people that are going to start banging down your walls in order to date you, in order to give you money, in order to be on your show, in order to be on your podcast.
And very interestingly, especially in relationships, you never know. The other party might just be like, oh my God, I thought you'd never ask. How many times have you heard that line before? Be like, finally, you're asking. I didn't know if you were ever going to ask. I was just waiting for you to ask.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Or they say no. And you could develop the attitude I have. No is just no for now. no could mean yes in a week. It could mean yes tomorrow. It could mean yes there. And then eventually you have to learn of how to ask consistently without being annoying. There's a big difference between being tenacious and really persistent versus being obnoxious and annoying. Obnoxious and annoying just gets you eliminated and you're out of the gate. You're done. Game's over. Persistent and tenacious is done respectably and gets you what you want.
So I am in my early 20s. I really look up to Jason, what you've built, and the fact that you know Gary Vaynerchuk personally. I'm worried about ending up being obnoxious. Like, what should I not do, and what should I do?
The email you send 15 times to people, like, hey, just checking in, making sure you got my last email. Hey, just checking in, making sure you got my last email. Hey, just checking in, making sure you got my last. My email hasn't been going through. People aren't getting my email. So look, no pressure, and just making sure you're not getting. That's annoying. That's obnoxious, right? But like getting creative about how you do it, like, hey, how's it going? Just checking in to see if your family's safe during this time. I know this is not a priority for you right now, nor should it be with everything that's going on. But would love to get this settled. That's a good follow-up to number 2. It's a skill you have to learn. Like, if you're in business, you have to learn how to sell. You have to learn sales. And with sales, it's all in the follow-up. Very few people are going to give you their money off call number 1. And we know this in advertising, right? Your top of funnel isn't meant to be, your top of funnel isn't meant to be your moneymaker. Right? It's meant to create awareness so that the person you're trying to ask for money from knows you exist. Right? So it's just learning how to follow up and learning how to do it in a respectful way where you're not annoying and adding value. So my follow-up to Daymond John on Twitter was I would tweet images of his book, quotes from him. It wasn't just every single time being like, hey, you like helping. I at one point I circled a line where he's like, I love helping young entrepreneurs. And I sent that tweet out. I'm like, Daymond's the man. He like how many people at his level love helping young entrepreneurs, and put that out. And all of a sudden I'm like, dude, I got to give this guy I got to give him something. He's just calling me out in front of everyone pretty much, but I'm doing it and doing it in a nice way. And you got to be unwilling to take no. And I think, I think you have to learn when to sit there and say, okay, it's a no for now. And take your loss for now and learn how to follow up later, and work, just like I said, reverse engineer, figure out, okay, well, this way didn't work. What's my next angle in? Maybe it's, hey, I want D on. D doesn't want to come on my podcast, but cool. What if I got Scott on? What if I got his partner on? Now, if I get his partner on, I have another way in. What if I get one of the people who works around him, or one of the people in his circle, and I start building a circle around, then I'm in his ecosphere. I'm like, hey, had all your buddies on. Right. Then it's like, okay, well, who's this guy that's interviewing all my friends? Right. Now you're adding that credibility.
Amazing. Sounds to me like the principle there to apply really is persistence and tenacity added with empathy for the person, but then also empathy for the situation. Like, there's this, you have to be empathetic for, wait a second, peer pressure is a real thing. Social infrastructure and social niceties is a real thing. So if I know how to use that, and I also provide whatever value I can, even though I'm a nobody to that in that person's world, and I tweet their stuff and I reshare their stuff and I call them out on things, I'm using all those tools. I'm empathetic to the situation, and I'm not coming across like a complete asshole.
And then you still have to ask, right? Like, what good
you
is
can do all that and not ask, right?
What good is an ad without a CTA? Like, you have to ask in the end, right? Like, I could have all your buddies on, but if I never ask you to be on the podcast, you just be like, okay, there's a guy interviewing everyone.
Amazing. That makes so much sense. It's so awesome. So already this right here is, and this past conversation in the past hour has been so enlightening in terms of exactly why principles help see you through and strategies help you see you through to then apply the right tactics in the right context. So it almost sounds like, even though it almost sounds like our headline for this topic is complete clickbait, because it's not so much that strategies beat tactics, but strategies are the things that teach you and give you the discernment for what tactic to use when. Would you agree with that? And what hacks to use when?
100%. And look, like I said, I think tactics is the wrong word, because there's nothing really wrong with tactics. Tactics are a way of learning. Hacks, on the other hand, of like, this is the one way to run this. This is the way that's going to make you this. Those are hacks. You know, this is the ad structure I have going on right now. It's one way that's fine to share. There's nothing wrong with sharing, but you know, like it's one method, right? Like I could completely ignore it and have better results, or I could use it and have the same results. The problem is if I use that hack and it dies up, I'm left searching for another hack. If I don't know how to optimize, if I don't understand strategy, if I don't understand basic marketing, which starts from how do you take someone who's never heard of you before, take them all the way down to becoming an advocate for you, or how to craft a sales offer, or how to research my customers. If I don't understand that, then I'm just left going, okay, he had a good hack. All right, now this doesn't work anymore. He had a good hack. And that's what leads you down the path of like going and buying course after course of this method works. This is the method that works. This is the method that works. They work because most of those people, for the most part, understand the rest of the marketing picture for the most part, right? Like there's a lot of people who sell you courses that don't do anything, but that's why I'm a firm believer. Like, honestly, you could be an average media buyer, a really average, below average media buyer. If you can understand how to craft a sales offer, and I mean like really write copy and understand how to package that and put it together and obviously we're assuming you have a winning product or service, because otherwise it doesn't really matter what you have. None of this is going to fix it for you. But if you have all that, media buying is easy, super easy. If you could craft all that, then media buying is just, you know, another piece of the puzzle. That's why I believe I think I'm a pretty good media buyer, but I think I'm only good because I think I'm a better marketer. I think I understand overall marketing strategy and understanding how the numbers tell a story across the board and understanding big picture, which allowed me to become a media buyer. And there's a lot of people who are technically a lot better than I am, but I think I'm a better marketer than those people.
Amazing. And this is just like it's just like in MMA. You've got be a well-rounded person, all of it, instead of hearing like, oh, I heard that Conor McGregor or George St. Pierre had like the Superman punch. That was what they KO'd so many people with Superman punch. So that's the only thing I'm going to learn. I'm not going to learn anything else. Superman punch. And then you come up with someone like a grappler and you're like, oh wait, I'm screwed.
Oh, look, Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather in a one-dimension fight. Got his ass handed to him. Floyd Mayweather was joking around with him. Like, I mean, it was he jabbed him to death, and that's what's crazy about it. Like, didn't even stand a chance in the stamina just to wore him out. Put Floyd in the UFC, he's gonna get killed. Yeah. Right? There's multi-dimensions to it. There's mixed martial arts. It's the overall strategy of how it comes to play. You know, boxing is just one area of it, right? Wrestling's another area, but put it together, you get a complete fighter. Come in with just, hey, I got boxing, now I'm going to fight this guy who knows every single martial art possible. How are you going to win? Like, he'll take you down. And then when you're down, you can't jab from the ground up like right? Like, you'll get choked out.
Totally. Man, thank you. This has been such an enriching hour. It has definitely been for me. For those of you watching, I hope it has been for you. There's so many things to pull out of this. I cannot wait to go back and watch this again, because there are some really cool sound bites in there, and I'm going to make sure that our team pulls out those sound bites and turns them into some promos as well. I'm going to go, Jason, I'm going to go off and wrap up the show really quickly, and then I'll come back to you, and we'll I'll get all the more good stuff out of Jason for you guys, I promise, and probably turn them into little Twitter and Instagram cards. Everyone, please join me in thanking Jason. He has been so generous with his time. We really do appreciate you, and I cannot wait until the next time I can hopefully bring Jason back in and we can actually catch up possibly 6-12 weeks from now after all this craziness has gone over, just so we can look back at this and see how it goes. If you enjoyed this show, please tag a friend, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, hashtag GG Show. That's where it's at. We will see you next time on the next episode.